Have you ever stopped to think about how your insurance policy or your pension plan actually gets made? I mean, really made. It's so easy to just see them as numbers on a page, but the truth is, it's a lot more like designing a building. You've got a blueprint, a serious balancing act, and a whole bunch of different people you need to keep happy.
So, here's what we're going to cover. We'll kick things off with that balancing act. Then we'll look at the professional playbook they use to manage it all. After that, we'll dive deep into mapping out what everyone needs, see how that gets turned into a product, and finally, we'll see why this whole thing is actually a never-ending loop.
All right, let's jump right into that balancing act. Now, the first thing you've got to understand is that when a financial product is being designed, you, the customer, are an absolutely crucial piece of the puzzle. But, and this is a big but, you're not the only piece.
So who's actually in the room, calling the shots when these things are being built? Is it just the company trying to turn a profit, or maybe a government regulator who's all about safety? The real answer is, well, it's pretty much everyone, all at the same time.
Let's go back to that idea of an architect designing an apartment building. They can't just think about the people who will live there. They also have to deal with the city's building codes, the investors who are funding the whole thing, and, yeah, even the neighbors next door. Designing a financial product is exactly like that. It's this delicate dance between the needs of all these different stakeholders. And just like an architect needs blueprints to manage all that, these folks need a professional framework to get the job done.
And that framework, that set of professional blueprints they use for juggling all these competing demands, has a name: the actuarial control cycle.
Now, don't let the technical name throw you. At its core, the actuarial control cycle is really just a problem-solving recipe. It's a structured, repeatable way for professionals to understand a problem from every single angle, design a solution, and then, and this part is key, check back in to see if that solution is actually working in the real world.
The whole cycle moves through 4 pretty logical stages. You start big, by understanding the general environment. What's the economy doing? What are other companies up to? Then you get super specific and define the exact problem you're trying to solve. Only then do you actually start developing a solution. And finally, you close the loop by monitoring what happens next.
Now, out of all those steps, the second one, specifying the problem, is, I would argue, the most critical one. This is the stage that really shapes the final product because it's all about getting a deep, deep understanding of the needs of every single person and group with a stake in the game.
And check this out. This table really lays bare all those competing interests. You've got us, the customers, wanting fair benefits and things we can actually understand. But then you've got shareholders who are, naturally, focused on profit. Meanwhile, the government is watching out for consumer protection and market stability. Even competitors are in the mix. The designer's job is to somehow find a path that works for all of them.
And if we zoom in on just the customer, things get even more complex. It's not just about logical, practical needs, like protecting your income or saving up for something specific. It's also about our emotional needs. How do you feel about risk? How much security do you need to sleep at night? How much flexibility do you want? A great product has to speak to both sides of that coin.
Okay, so you've done all this homework. You've got this incredibly detailed map of what everybody needs and wants. Now what? How do you actually turn all of that data into a real, tangible financial product? Well, this is where we shift from analysis to actual design. This mind map here shows perfectly how it all comes together. You can see how all those external factors we talked about, like competition and regulation, literally flow into the decisions about the product's features. And those decisions then shape the final benefits. The contract you end up with is the direct result of this whole complex equation.
So, what this all boils down to is a constant push and pull. As a policyholder, you're focused on getting the right protection and having secure options. The company, on the other hand, has to make sure the product is profitable, that it can manage all the risks, and that it has enough capital to guarantee it can pay claims down the road. The final product isn't a perfect win for one side. It's that carefully crafted compromise that works for both.
But just launching the product isn't the end of the story. Not at all. Remember, it's a control cycle. The final, and maybe most important stage, is all about monitoring the experience and adapting, making sure the solution keeps working for the long haul.
Yeah, once the product is out there in the wild, the real test begins. Are all those assumptions that were made on paper actually holding up? Are claim rates what they expected? How are the investments performing? This constant feedback loop is what lets the company know if the product is truly working for everyone or if it's time to make some changes.
And this quote, it just hits the nail on the head. The guiding philosophy here is always about the long term. This isn't about making a quick buck. These financial products are long-term promises, sometimes lasting for decades, and the entire process has to reflect that serious perspective.
So, why does any of this matter to you? Because this whole methodical, stakeholder-focused, long-term approach, this is what builds the trust that our entire financial system runs on. It's the engine that makes sure the promises made to customers, investors, and everyone else can actually be kept.
And that kind of leaves us with one big question for the future. The world is not standing still. Our needs, our risks, our priorities, they're all changing with technology and society. So the question becomes, how will this whole cycle of design and adaptation have to evolve to build the products that we're going to need tomorrow? Definitely something to think about.